Find out if Jordan is singing at the top of this week's chart on Country Countdown USA. Each week, I'm joined by a top country star who stops by the studio to give me a hand counting down the hits. Along this week, we're not in the studio. We're deep in the bowels of Nashville's Bridgestone Arena with Cody Johnson. How are you?
I'm good. A little tired.
You earned that last night, I think. 2 sold-out shows here in Nashville. That's got to be great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 sold-out shows. Last year we sold out Bridgestone, and I immediately after the show said, we got to do 2 nights. Well, it went so well, we're actually doing it in the round, meaning all the seats behind us on stage are all sold. So we took down our video wall. We placed some strategic smaller video walls to kind of facilitate for the people behind us. We've got mic stands on the back of the stage, so it's a much different element whenever you're having to cover a 360 view.
Yeah, oh yeah. Is this the only place you're doing in the round?
I kind of stole this idea from Luke Combs when we were in Australia.
Hey, we're going to steal from the best.
He was, a couple of years ago, he was playing some smaller arenas in Australia, not like the stadiums that he's selling out now.
Right.
And he did them in the round. And I was like, hey guys, can we kind of steal that configuration for some of these? And I think what it boils down to, Lon, is like if we have one that goes on sale and it sells out in 45 minutes, why not?
Right.
Let's open it up.
Sure.
And it's just a big, huge, expensive video wall that you're not using, but I think the fans appreciate getting the extra tickets.
Well, we'll talk about that. We got to talk about Leather Deluxe, of course. One album, actually, Leather won CMA, and I got to ask you about that because it's a little different than we talked about. I think last time we got together, oddly enough, we were backstage at the Ryman, so we're backstage at the Bridgestone. So I like it. We'll get around with you. Of course, we got to talk about the top 5. I'm Gonna Love You, the duet with Carrie Underwood. As you can hear, lots to do with my co-host Cody Johnson as we get things started. Jackson Dean leading off the week's top 30. That's Heavens to Betsy. We're counting down the hits this week with my co-host Cody Johnson. As we talked earlier, your current top 5 is I'm Going to Love You with Carrie Underwood, of course, but a song written by a guy that I think people know, Travis Denning.
Yep, he was actually the first person to show me this song, and this would have been for Human, the double album. He showed me this song, and I was in love with it. And then we got word back that, hey, we're going to go with this for a single on Travis. Good for you, buddy. Hell of a song. Good job. It never comes out. And I thought, well, I wonder what happened. So when it came around for Leather, I said, where's that freaking song that Travis Denning showed me, that I'm Going to Love You? And they said, well, they never wound up releasing it on Travis. I didn't know that in between Travis and myself, he had pitched it to Carrie. And Carrie had it in her pile, and it kind of got pushed back out of her pile. So
he pitched it to her for her doing it as a solo?
For her as a solo.
Ah.
So in Carrie's words, she said, well, this is the second time this song has wound up in my lap. So maybe God's trying to tell me, like, this is the song to do.
So then the second time it lands in your lap, how did it get there?
I recorded the song with a band, and I'd already had my vocal parts done. So she came in to do her vocal parts, which were phenomenal. She killed it. And as we're listening in the studio afterwards, she's kind of got this look on her face of, I don't know. And I'm kind of not feeling it either. And I just didn't know. It didn't have that spark. It didn't have that thing. And she said, what if we get in and just sing it live together? I'm like, I'm perfectly fine with that. So we went in, and it was a 1, 2, 3, go, push the red button. And what you guys hear on the radio on the countdown is a live take. That's she and I singing together.
Wow, what a great story how this final verse. Co-host Cody Johnson, along with Carrie Underwood, their current top 5, I'm Gonna Love You. And Cody, right before the song, you were telling me that you guys actually got together in the studio to do that. It always seems to me that's a little bit more special because, great vocalists just push each other a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then you do a lick, and then she'll, oh yeah, watch this.
Exactly.
And then you come back.
There's a little bit of a feed off of each other.
Yeah, I think so. And you can hear it.
Like the big, the little ooh in the bridge was not planned. We were just waiting on this guitar solo, and I kind of made eye contact. I saw her take a breath to go, and I went, well, all right, if you're going, I'm going too. And it just kind of happened. It was totally organic. We did not discuss that at all.
That's very cool.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's a word that's used for Carrie quite a bit. And later, I do want to talk about you guys singing that song on the CMA Award show. But it is back to the countdown. We are at number 29, John Party, Friday night, number 28, Worst Way. We're counting them down here with Cody Johnson, and we are backstage at Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, just hours away from you taking the stage for the second of 2 sold-out nights here in town. And, you know, I think the greatest thing about seeing shows here in Nashville is you never know who's going to show up. I mean, there's always special guests.
Man, I went through, Lon, I went through so many. So Garth was in. We were going to do Friends in Low Places, but Miss Yearwood got taken on a Valentine's Day trip, and I said that's much more important than singing Friends in Low Places with me. Reba, we had talked on the phone a few times, and she said, sorry, me and Rex are in L.A. recording on the new TV show, and I completely understood. And, you know, Ronnie Dunn says, hey, talk to Kix, we're in. You know, we're going to do Neon Moon. And I'm like, perfect. And then a week later, he's like, hey, I forgot we're rehearsing for our tour. You know, no big deal.
Right.
And so they're out. And so I called Randy Hauser, and last night he and I did 7 Spanish Angels together. And then Marcus King, one of the greatest freaking guitar players of all time. He got up and we did Leonard Skinner, They Call Me the Breeze. And tonight, Ian Munsick is going to get up with me and do our big hit single, Long Live Cowgirls. And Carrie is obviously going to show up and sing our I'm Gonna Love You, our new single. And at the end of the show, me and Luke Combs are going to shotgun some beers and do Beer Never Broke My Heart.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's great.
Cody Johnson is my co-host, and I want to talk about you winning the CMA Album of the Year award. I think the last time we talked, you told me that you really weren't looking for the album Leather to be in consideration for CMA Album of the Year.
That's true.
Because Deluxe was just around the corner, and you wanted it to be judged for the deluxe version. So
that was the plan. But
and
it's as the old saying goes, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Right.
I know for a fact that in the first rounds of voting, Warner Music Nashville did not put anything towards Album of the Year because we wanted to do just that. We wanted to wait till the deluxe was out and have the culmination of the body of work be recognized, not just the first part. However, the industry spoke and they said Album of the Year, and I went, well, if we're going to be nominated, we might as well go for it. And what do you know, we won it.
But I would have to think that had to be even sweeter. With the way you just explained it.
Yeah. For something that you don't plan.
Right.
And that made me feel so accepted. The country music industry said this needs to be Album of the Year. That's a much better feeling.
Oh, I would think so. That makes it even more special. But I do want to come back, talk some more about your big CMA night. Up a couple to number 25, Life with You. We're counting them down with Cody Johnson. We're just talking about you winning the CMA Album of the Year. I was sitting behind the artist in the arena, so I didn't see your face. But later, when I went home and watched it on TV a few days later, the look on your face was pretty good.
It was utter surprise.
Which is really fabulous.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have a speech prepared, because I truly thought that, honestly, I had Jelly Roll to take it home. He had a ton of momentum behind him at the time, and when they announced my name, I just was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, are you really? My wife said, you didn't even thank God. And I went, oh, no, I didn't. I sure didn't. She said, but you did make the Ric Flair, woo! I'm like, oh. I was like, well, maybe that's just what I was feeling at the time.
Well, you thank Brandy, and that was probably more important at the time.
You got to thank your wife.
Well, at least you had the presence of mind to do that, right? But congrats. Up a couple to number 25, Life with You. We're counting them down with Cody Johnson. We're just talking about you winning the CMA Album of the Year. I was sitting behind the artist in the arena, so I didn't see your face. But later, when I went home and watched it on TV a few days later, the look on your face was pretty good.
It was utter surprise.
Which is really fabulous.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have a speech prepared, because I truly thought that, honestly, I had Jelly Roll to take it home. He had a ton of momentum behind him at the time, and when they announced my name, I just was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, are you really? My wife said, you didn't even thank God. And I went, oh, no, I didn't. I sure didn't. She said, but you did make the Ric Flair, woo! I'm like, oh. I was like, well, maybe that's just what I was feeling at the time.
Well, you thank Brandy, and that was probably more important at the time.
You got to thank your wife.
Well, at least you had the presence of mind to do that, right? But congrats on just a huge win. It's This Week with Cody Johnson. Up next is Lainey Wilson, who was just in here as my co-host. I think it was days before she got engaged. And when we talked about her fiancé, Duck, she said, you know, more of the male artists in country music hang out with Duck and hang out with me.
Yeah.
So,
We
and I think he was
text all
one of the
time.
names one of the names that lady mentioned that Duck knows really well is you.
Yeah, well, we're still planning our Arkansas duck hunting trip. I couldn't figure out why they called him Duck till we started talking about hunting, and that's all what that man lives and breathes for is duck hunting. The only thing besides Laney is that. And I'm like, man, well, me and you we're going to have to hook Laney and Brandy up so they can go do something else because we're going to be duck hunting a lot. I promise you.
Hope you get a lot of ducks because when you come back, they may have gone shopping or something. And
that's kind of a given. Well, if we're taking a hunting trip, they're going to take the credit card and go somewhere and do something outrageous.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably okay since she just celebrated her 8th #1 with this song. It's Lainey Wilson at Pierce moving up 3 to number 20 with Truck on Fire. Cody Johnson is my co-host this week. We're just talking about your album Leather winning the CMA Album of the Year. And I guess I should know this, but not sure what happens next. Can Deluxe be nominated again?
Nope.
No?
It's out, which is okay. What it did, it's funny how things happen. Everything happens for a reason. Was it immediately kind of spawned me to go to start picking more songs and start writing more songs for a new album. So this year, as we write out, the duet with Carrie and write out whatever we follow up with from Leather Deluxe, I'm going to be in the studio and I'm going to go cut a brand new album for next year for 2020.
That's interesting. So that kind of pushed that forward a little bit then?
Yeah, I thought, well, if we wait, then Leather Deluxe gets Album of the Year.
Right.
If it does, then that buys us time.
Right.
As soon as it didn't and Leather got Album of the Year, I went, well, okay, that's old hat now. We need to get back in the studio.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good news for Cody Johnson fans, I think. But in the meantime, here is one of the hits from Cody Johnson's CMA Album of the Year, Dirt Cheap. Co-host Cody Johnson with his #1 from last year, that's Dirt Cheap. And Cody, we are going to get back to the countdown here. And up next is the latest from Ella Langley.
She's great. My kid, well, first of all, I have 2 daughters, 10 years old and 8 years old, that absolutely they're in love with Carrie Underwood, Ella Langley, and Megan Maroney, and not that order. I mean, it depends on what. And honestly, it sucks for me because, like, I want to, what's your favorite Megan Maroney song? What's your favorite Ella Langley song? And I'm like, I'm starting to get to where I can't stand them all because I've heard them 1,600 times. Like, Ella, if you're listening to this, your streaming dollars have gone up significantly just from my 2 daughters. So,
I love it.
What is the song that she did with Riley Green? You look like you love me. Right. I mean, I've heard it a million times. To the point where I have
the girls singing it together? They sing a little harmony?
Yeah. I haven't told them yet, but whatever I was born with, they got the voices for sure.
Well, I do want to hear some more about your daughters. First, though, one of their favorite. Cody Johnson is my Countdown co-host this week. And a bit ago, you started to tell me about your daughters. So tell me about the girls.
They're 10 and 8, and my 10-year-old has already informed me that, Dad, I'm a preteen now, so things are different. And my 8-year-old still thinks she's 6 and is wild and crazy and thinks Dad is the coolest thing in the world. So it's a beautiful time as a dad.
That's a great age.
Oh, man.
Sometimes they want to be the teen, and sometimes they want to be an adult.
Yeah.
And that's a fascinating time, too.
I constantly have to say, hey, there's 2 parents in the room. Let us do the parenting. Because they're both so intelligent. I mean, Brandy and I have prided ourselves on doing a great job with the girls and never really yes, they get to be little girls, but we've never baby talked them. We've never treated them like, I don't want it to sound like that, but we don't treat them like kids.
Yeah.
We respect their personalities and allow them to grow, and we are honest with them and speak intelligently to them, and it really shows.
I love talking about your daughters, and I will tell you that one of their favorite Armenian up a couple to number 17, Coming Home. We're counting down the country hits with Cody Johnson, and the last time you were here, you were just about to head to Brazil to do a show. Just kind of curious, when you got down there, able to do any tourist stuff while you were there?
No, it was a quick in and out trip. It was pretty interesting, though.
It's just like going to Peoria. If you're not going to hang around and do stuff, you just go in and go out. And you're in Brazil.
Get out, yeah. What was interesting is I thought Brazil, they spoke Spanish. It's Portuguese. That's nothing close. So I came out and asked the crowd, are y'all ready to have fun tonight? 60,000 people. And nobody really did anything. And I said, does anybody speak English? And about 20 people out of 60,000 raised their hands. And I went, well, I've got my work cut out for me tonight.
So then how did it go? I mean, so now you're singing to 20 people who know English. You're singing your songs in English. And so, I mean...
They knew every word to every song. Yeah. They sang. They had a blast. But when I would speak to them, I started about halfway through. I kind of started making my sentences a little bit simpler. God bless Brazil. Thank you so much.
Right.
We're so happy. We're so honored. But if I tried to have a conversation just like you and I are right now, it was crickets. But what got me was how well country music translated. You're talking about 60,000 people that don't know the words really to the song, and they're feeling it, and they're dancing, and they're moving around, or they're crying, or they're laughing, or whatever the emotion is. And I thought, what a beautiful thing country music can be when it translates across the language barrier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible to me.
Well, that's really amazing, isn't it? They knew your music, but not much else, right? I guess that's the magic of the internet. Anyway, back to Countdown here with Cody Johnson. We're at 16. We're counting them down here with Cody Johnson. And up next is a guy who's been opening some shows for you this year, Drew Baldridge.
He's incredible. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met,
Truly.
too.
So great to see the success he had.
Today, he said he had a gift for me for having him out on tour. Now, like, oh, you don't owe me anything. Like, he got me a saddle. It says Leather Deluxe 2025 on it, and I mean, it is a beautiful hand-tooled Teskey's saddle, which is a shop in Texas. So I was like, man, you think the nicest guy in the world, but like, he really is the nicest guy in the world.
That's the bravest gift in the world to give somebody who is a real rodeo cowboy, who has a ranch and who does this for real. To give somebody like that a saddle I think that's brave.
He hit the nail on the head with the brand. It was a rope and saddle. He asked somebody what size, and 14 and a half was my size for the seat. And then I tripped him up and I said, what kind of tree does it have in it? He said, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, if it's a Ray Lewis, a good tree, then I can ride this saddle on my horse. But if it's a trophy saddle tree, it's going to bruise up the withers on my horses, and I'll have to go in the trophy room. And I was playing with him. You could see the concern. He was kind of like, oh, I didn't think about that. I had to out cowboy him a little bit.
That's really pretty cool, though. And the guy we're talking about is Drew Baldridge. He's next at 14. Tough People. Cody Johnson is my co-host this week, and now we come to one of your daughter's favorite singers, Megan Maroney.
Oh, what is the song? So indifferent. I literally had to go in the room and I said, this is enough, guys. It's been playing on repeat for 3 hours. Like, y'all are gonna make me not like Megan's music anymore. And now I was a big Megan fan because she doesn't have to hit the notes in the stratosphere. She doesn't have to be the boldest vocalist. She writes songs and sings songs that she believes in and from the heart. And when I watched her perform live, we played a festival together, and I can't remember where it was, somewhere up in the Northeast, I believe. And when I went to watch the set, I went, I totally get it. I felt like one of those little teen girls in the front row screaming all the lyrics. I'm like, she's a performer. And I think she's got a bright future. I hope to do something with her someday.
Well, I hope that happens. If for no other reason than it'll make your daughters really happy, right? And we are talking about Megan Maroney, who's next at 12 with Holy Smokes. We're counting them down with Cody Johnson. Is there anything going on with you, summer, fall, that we don't know about that's not listed on the website yet? Or
no, I mean, it's all pretty much there. This year we're playing 55 shows, I believe. Cutting back on the shows a little bit. I'm smack dab knee deep in the middle of a home remodel. We've been out of our house for over a year, living in a single wide trailer house out by my rodeo arena, and
really,
we're staring across the pasture at this 9,000 square foot framed home that we can't be in. And so it was important for me this year to be home with my wife Brandy to try to get us back in our home, and we're expanding the ranch. And
what's your role in all that, though? I mean, you're not slinging a hammer out there?
No, just being home to be supportive. You know, when you've got a wife that's designing all that, because I told her, I said, look, I want this to be your home. You build us our home. I'll go out and work and I'll pay for it. I'll go out and bust my butt and bring home the bread, but I want you to design this home the way that you want it. That way, someday our great grandchildren are going to be like, our great grandmother made this home. Our great grandfather went out and provided the money to make this home, because we're building a legacy home. We said,
really? This
is it. I've already got the tree picked out. I'm going to be buried under lawn. I'm not joking.
This is very Yellowstone-ish.
It's very Yellowstone-ish, but it's the kind of the culture that I want to leave something for my children that has nothing to do with a guitar. But as far as you say, swinging a hammer, I mean, when it comes to the horses and the cattle and the land, I go home and I work like a dog. I mean, it's just that rock star stuff don't fly when you get back home.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. We did talk about the website, and it's Cody. Post Malone and Luke Combs with last week's number 1, number 10 this week, Guide for That. Cody Johnson is along as my co-host. And, looking back, I think, at a few of your highlights from last year, one that really caught my eye, of course, is Globe Field in Arlington.
That was my first headliner stadium show, and I'm really thankful that it got to be in Texas. It just seemed
Well, it made a lot of
fitting.
sense. I mean,
it just seemed fitting. I mean, and I've done stadiums with Zach Brown Band. I've done stadiums with George Strait and Luke Combs, and so we're not naive to what playing a stadium is like. But headlining it was, I will say, a completely different experience. I mean, you got John Party opening. I mean,
Yeah.
that's insane, And Ella Langley was on that show. It was a pretty different experience just because of the way a stadium feels versus an arena or a festival.
I always love talking to young artists who just did their first stadium stint somewhere or first show. And I remember talking to Parker McCollum after he did Kansas City with George Strait. And so what's it like when you stand on the side of that stage and look at it? Just when you realize how much real estate is actually out there, right?
I try to treat every stage the same. But in the back of your mind, this is a way bigger audience. I think for me, a big stadium like that with all those, you're talking about 75,000 people or 40,000 even. Let's just say on the low end, 40, 50, 60,000 people, something like that.
Right.
I feel like I personally have this thing in the back of my head thinking I need to work harder to get them in the palm of my hand when you really don't.
Johnson with his very first number 1 from 3 years ago, Till You Can't. And Cody, we're just talking about playing stadium shows and being out there so many times and watching so many artists. One thing I know for sure is that, man, when you play a stadium, you better be in shape.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
in shape. You're in pretty good shape. But
there's a lot of running involved. The thrust is a lot longer out there, and you have to work a little bit harder to get to your microphone. So, yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. This year, as high impact and high tempo as our set has become and the larger stages we're playing, I've gotten to where I do a routine on my assault bike in the gym where it's 30 seconds as hard as you can possibly pedal, 30 seconds where you can really breathe, and I'll do that for like 30 minutes. But the entire time I'm pedaling hard, I'm really going
right,
and hold it.
Oh yeah, to get some wind.
Yeah, and or I'll sing while I'm pedaling hard, just to kind of train my lungs to be able to handle running around doing cardio and singing at the same time.
Oh, I get it. Those stadium stages cover a whole lot of real estate. We are going to get back to the countdown here with Cody Johnson. We're at 9. Here's John Morgan and Jason Aldean. Zach Top jumping up 3 to number 7, I Never Lie. My co-host this week is Cody Johnson. We were just talking about you heading over to the UK for its annual Country to Country Festival. Joining you there is Nate Smith. You know Nate?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know him, but we're not besties yet.
Another force of nature.
Yeah, another force of nature. He'd come on like a storm, didn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him. That was I think we got Nate Smith. We got Cole Swindell on a bunch of those shows too as well. That whole tour is going to be pretty exciting. I do like the
Dylan Scott up a couple to number 5. This town's been too good to us. Cody Johnson is my co-host this week. We now come to your song at number 4, of course, the duet with Carrie Underwood. Song that you guys sang last November on the CMA Awards show. I mean, what was it like to sing live with Carrie?
That was incredible. That's the first time. That was the second time, actually, that we had sang together live besides the studio. The studio live singing together, and then an award show. So we've had the only in between that we've had is just kind of goofing off at the music video shoot, but you're not really singing. You're just kind of doing the 150th take of the same exact shot, and you've been working for 12 freaking hours straight. Right. So I texted her after the show because she had left, and I said, it's crazy. It sounds like we've been singing together our whole lives.
Yeah, well, it sure sounds that way on the record, and of course, it certainly looked that way on the CMA Awards show when you guys sang together. And the song we're talking about from my co-host Cody Johnson and Carrie Underwood. Host Cody Johnson along with Carrie Underwood. They're up 1 to number 4, I'm Gonna Love You. And of course, Cody, Carrie joined you on stage here at one of your shows in Nashville. What a treat for everybody who is there. But I'll also ask, what do you do when she's not able to make it live?
So she was kind enough at the end of our video shoot to do a full wardrobe change, full set change, stand eye to camera and sing the entire song on a tight shot, on a very full body, elegant shot, and we edited it out. The only track I've ever run in history is when I sing my duet with Carrie. She appears on the big giant screen, and it's very obvious that she's not there, you know. So I think that my fans that believe in true organic music are like, yeah, obviously. And I don't think it would look very good for me and my guitar player to be singing Carrie's part. I don't know how that would go. So.
Well, I think thankfully that doesn't have to happen, right? We are going to get Liar. Cody Johnson in here as my co-host this week, and you mentioned Jelly Roll earlier in the show, and he actually has a song with you on your album. So just tell me about your experience with Jelly Roll.
I think that any toughness or intimidation that you might feel when you meet him is gone in about the first 5 words that he speaks.
Truly.
I remember the first time we met was here at Bridgestone. We were coming in to do some interviews, and we met in the parking lot and just started talking, and he was such a big fan. One of the first things he said to me was, I remember coming and watching you at 3rd and Lindsley. And I'm thinking, man, that's a lifetime ago, you know. And he said, I just remember watching you and being the guy from Texas, and you're going to do it your way. He's like, I knew that I didn't fit into the quote unquote, at the time, the Nashville mold. And he's like, man, I'm never going to fit into that mold. I'm just going to have to be me. Like, if Cody can be Cody and be Kojo, then I'm going to be Jelly Roll.
Right.
And I was like, man, it's so crazy. You know, you don't even really know that you're impacting somebody that's going to come along and wind up being a country music superstar, you know?
That's interesting. That's
pretty cool. I felt very humbled.
That's an amazing first-time meeting conversation.
Yeah.
You know.
And it made me kind of feel old.
Yeah, right. Nothing to worry about, I don't think. We are going to get on to the number. Jordan Davis, his 8th number 1, I Ain't Saying. And there they are, the top 30 country hits in the USA is compiled by Country Air Check. We've been counting them down with Cody Johnson just a couple hours before he takes the stage here at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. You talked before about the dates you're doing, and you're doing a bunch of them, including a couple cool nights, a couple stadium dates.
Yeah, actually, we have 2 nights at the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's April 25th and 26th. Charlotte on May 2nd, Charleston, South Carolina on the 3rd, Albuquerque May 17th, and Bloomington, Illinois on June 14th. So we're moving around the country a lot.
So you did the stadium in Arlington, you're doing 2 in Lafayette, Cajun Dome, little sneak peek at 2026 maybe?
We are looking at maybe 12 plus stadiums for 2026. But fingers crossed. I still got to do my job in 25 first to get there.
All right. Yeah, but you guys are always at least a year or 2 out. Current hit is I'm Going to Love You, of course, with Carrie Underwood. Best luck with that as always, man. Thanks for letting me count down the hits.
Thank you. Well, it's always a pleasure.